presentation of Fox Sports.
We are Fox Sports. We are Ohio.
Not a bad night. A little on the chilly side in downtown Cincinnati, but the crowd rolling into Great American Ballpark for Game 2 of this three-game series between the Arizona Diamondbacks and the Cincinnati Reds. Jeremy Hermida, Scott Rowan and company trying to get the Reds untracked as they lost the opener here last night, and they've dropped 4 out of 5 so far on this homestand. And hi again, everybody, alongside Chris Welsh. I'm Tom Brenneman. Welcome, as always, to Reds Baseball on Fox Sports Ohio. And I guess if you want to stop the bleeding, so to speak, I can't think of anybody you'd rather have on the mound than tonight's pitcher, Bronson Arroyo.
Well, he's coming off a bad outing, Tom, and that's one thing that you really say, well, is that good or is that bad for Bronson Arroyo? Well, in Bronson Arroyo's history, it's a good thing, because what he has shown throughout the course of his career, and we're only going to go back to last season, but it goes beyond that. In 2009 and 2008, when he has a bad outing, it really gets him going onto a really good run. In April last year, pitching against the Padres, horrible outing, 8 runs. What did he do? He went 5-0 over the next few starts. Then in May, bad outing against the Cardinals. What did he do then? He ran off a 13-7 record over the next 22 starts. And in September, after getting beat up by the Rockies, he went 3-0 the rest of the season right there. So, Bronson Arroyo, memo to you right now. You're ready. You got beat around last time. How about dealing tonight?
His mound opponent really shut down the Reds when the team was out in Arizona, and that's right-hander Ian Kennedy. Boy, did he look good that day.
I'll tell you what, when he's got his curveball working, he can be some kind of pitcher. Former #1 draft pick by the New York Yankees. He's also got a nice changeup against left-handers. But everybody except the Reds have beat him up pretty good this year. We'll see what the Redlegs can do against him the second time they get to see him.
And for the second straight game, back in the lineup again after returning last night, Brandon Phillips. And boy, it's good to have him back. Well, you certainly need a jacket, a sweatshirt. It will be a chilly night tonight. How chilly? Let's check in with Channel 12's Michelle Boudelet.
It's going to be a cool night for the Reds game. Temperatures right now are in the upper 40s, and we're going to hold there through first pitch, but you will see a little bit of sunshine. By the end of the game, partly cloudy skies, but temperatures much the same with highs, or temperatures, I should say, in the 40s.
All right, Michelle, thank you very much. Brandon Phillips, nice to have him back last night, Mr. Welsh.
Well, you're not kidding. How about the defense he throws on the Diamondbacks last night, going way into the hole to make a nice play right there. Not only that, a couple of hits, too, going opposite field right here for a little bit of a base hit. And Brandon Phillips, nice to have you back. I'm not so sure Brandon is 100% yet, but he is certainly playing hard like he always does.
All right, we're hoping that Bruns is indeed on tonight. Reds trying to snap this 2-game losing streak.
Farm. State Farm agents are there when you need them. Find an agent or get a quote at statefarm.com. By your local Ford dealer. Drive one. By Cincinnati USA. Come for the Reds, stay for more fun. Book your trip at cincinnatiusa.com. And by Skyline Chili. When you're feeling good and hungry, it's Skyline time.
Well, the Reds have taken the field in preparation for Game 2 of this 3-game set with the Arizona Diamondbacks. And let's take a look at Kirk Gibson's starting lineup tonight. Arizona winning the opener here last night by a 5-4 count. Willie Bloomquist will lead off in left field. Kelly Johnson at second with Justin Upton out in right. Russell Branyan, the cleanup hitter, starts at first base. Chris Young in center and Stephen Drew at short. Ryan Roberts, 2 home runs here last night, down at third. Miguel Montero catching Ian Kennedy. 34-year-old Brooksville, Florida native Bronson Arroyo on the mound tonight for the Reds.
Had the best outing of the season so far against this Arizona Diamondback team. That was in Phoenix when the Reds went through their first road trip. Back on the 9th of April, 6 innings of 1-run baseball. None of those runs were earned, and hope he can put up a similar number tonight. The Reds really need good starting pitching because they're struggling now offensively. You don't want to get them to the point where they have to push a little bit and try to do too much at the plate. Good starting pitching rights everything.
So a strike to Willie Bloomquist, and this one is underway. And Bloomquist takes a breaking ball outside. A nice start for Bloomquist this year. A .316 batter with a home run, 7 batted in. Already has 7 stolen bases. And very good numbers for the short-time Red at the end of last season. And here's a base hit. Down to third base line, and this will be a 2-base hit for Willie Bloomquist to begin the game. Take a look at the Reds on defense, presented by Ford. Jeremy Hermida gets his first start in the left field since being brought up from Louisville. Same infield we saw here last night. And again, Ryan Hannigan is behind the plate working with Bronson Arroyo. So now do the Diamondbacks play for an early run, the way they've been swinging the bats, especially against the Reds this season. You wonder if they're thinking about giving up outs.
Well, I'm not so sure you're going to see Kirk Gibson call for a sacrifice bunt right here. I mean, it's a manager's perfect scenario when your leadoff guy hits a double and your number 2 man is a left-handed hitter against a right-handed pitcher like Arroyo. It should be very easy for Kelly Johnson to hook the ball, get it over the right side, and get Bloomquist to third.
Kelly, only a 177 batter, hit a home run in the game here last night. In fact, Johnson had 2 hits, including the solo home run, and scored a couple of times. And much like Bloomquist, very good numbers for Kelly Johnson in his career against Bronson Arroyo. Gary Cedarstrom calls the balls and strikes. Lance Barksdale is down at first. Field and Colbert the umpire at second, and Adrian Johnson at third. It's nice to have you with us on this Wednesday night from downtown Cincinnati. 3-1 now on Johnson. Into right field, Bruce will watch it bounce up against the wall. They're going to hold Bloomquist at third base on a double by Kelly Johnson. So here come the Diamondbacks again.
Well, a little bit of a decoy on the part of Jay Bruce out there that decoyed Willie Bloomquist into thinking maybe he's got a chance to catch his ball on a fly. That's the only reason I could think that Willie Bloomquist was not able to score on that. Look how he hooks this ball. It's on the outer part of the plate, and he knows he wants to hit it to the right side. He gets that bat going early. Bloomquist goes back to tag up, and they're going to hold him at third, second, and third. They've got it going now.
Talked about all the damage the Diamondbacks have done in the 4 games against Cincinnati pitching so far this year. Outside of the Arroyo game in Arizona, they just wore out the Reds in the other 2 games. And then last night, scoring 5 runs on 10 base hits. Ball 1 to Justin Upton. Upton 4 home runs, 9 runs batted in. Nearly had a home run in the game here last night. That one swung on and fouled out of play. That was a play that was reviewed on that fly ball to deep right field in the 5th inning. That eluded the glove of Jay Bruce up against the wall. It was ruled a triple, and after review, that call stood.
That would have been the 5th home run the Diamondbacks would have hit last night. 10 hits, 4 home runs, not a bad ratio.
They appeal down to first, and no. Upton didn't go around. 2-1. And clearly very early on in this game, it looks like a pretty tight strike zone by Gary Cedarstrom.
Big difference than last night. Adrian Johnson, who's umpiring down at third base, looked like he had a pitcher strike zone last night. Looks like Cedarstrom, who always is a little tighter, has a hitter strike zone.
Back-to-back doubles to begin the game for the Diamondbacks by Bloomquist and Johnson. They're at second and third with nobody out. And a 3-1 breaking ball is in there for strike 2.
Now that was a liberal high strike by Gary Cedarstrom. What's our box tracks look? Right there.
Three-2 pitch on the way. And it's in the air straight away center field. This will bring in the run from third. Stubbs going to throw to third. Sac fly RBI by Upton. 1-0 Arizona. It's 22 runs allowed now in the first inning by Reds pitching. That is most in the National League. tonight is a fourth straight game with at least one run in the first inning. So now Russell Branyan, in limited playing time, 1 home run, 2 runs batted in, has tremendous power. He's also very much prone to the strikeout. Ball 1 up high. Couple of day-night doubleheaders today and tonight involving National League Central Division rivals. The Cardinals lost game 1 of a doubleheader, 8-6 to the Nationals. They'll play game 2 shortly. And the Cubs in 11 innings beat San Diego 2-1. Game 2 coming up. One other day game, a final. Philadelphia able to scratch out a win, avoiding getting swept by Milwaukee in a 4-3 win, and the Phillies winning that one late. Well, these first 4 hitters in the Arizona Diamondbacks lineup just have ridiculous career numbers against Bronson Arroyo. Arroyo a season ago, his 17 wins were a career high. 3 times was victimized by blown saves. Led the Reds in starts for a 5th straight year, and innings pitched for the 4th time in 5 years. Hermida in left center for out number 2.
Good job right there by Bronson Arroyo. Fell behind Russell Branyan. And this guy can launch the ball. I mean, he's hit 56 home runs over the last 2 seasons. Came into Arizona as a non-roster player and made him reach for that ball down and away. Russell loves to pull the ball. His longest home runs, obviously, to right field. In fact, most of them are to right field. So you stay away from that. Now, Bronson Arroyo can get back-to-back doubles up to start the game and then get away out of the inning with only giving up 1 run. That's somewhat of a moral victory right there.
Chris Young digging in. He hit one of the 4 Arizona home runs in the game here last night. Young, a National League All-Star a season ago. Already with 13 runs batted in so far in this Young season.
That's the one Arroyo really wanted. You can, you know, he hides his emotions pretty well on the mound, but you could see him slump after that last pitch was called a ball.
One ball, 1 strike pitch to Young, and that's strike 2.
First pitch fastball, back-to-back changeups for Arroyo against the right-hander. Might be a nice time to drop a little sidearm curveball on him. Start at the same spot you did the changeup and then work it away from Young. Wants to go up the ladder.
Straight away center field, and only 1 run after 2nd and 3rd, and nobody out. Nonetheless, it is a scoring inning for the Diamondbacks, and the Reds are coming up. Looks like this. Drew Stubbs in center, Brandon Phillips at second, Joey Votto at first. Scott Rowland at third base, batting cleanup with Jay Bruce in right, and Jeremy Hermida getting the start in left field. For the latter third of Brian Hannigan, Paul Yanish, and Bronson Arroyo. Ian Kennedy, an ERA of nearly 7, despite the fact that in 8 innings against the Reds, he allowed 1 run.
Well, he's had 2 quality starts out of the 3 starts that he had. The one bad start, real bad, against the St. Louis Cardinals. That was right after the one against the Reds. The Cardinals jumped on him for 9 runs in 3 innings.
In that game against the Reds, Chris, and I know you saw it on television, you weren't on the trip, he was throwing one of the better changeups we have seen in recent memory.
Well, he's got a good curveball and a good changeup, and he's very tough against left-handers because of that changeup. Last year, that is. This year, his luck against left-handers not nearly as good.
Chris mentioned Kennedy, a former #1 pick of the Yankees. They were touting him for a number of years coming up through their minor league system. Battled through some injuries. And was really never given the chance over a full year to be a part of the Yankees starting rotation. There you get a look at his outings so far, the last 3 this year. But he came over last season, and really for a guy who pitched on a very bad Arizona team, Kennedy's numbers were pretty impressive. 3 balls and 2 strikes on Drew Stubbs.
Changeup right there. That gives you a pretty good indication of what his best pitch is. Usually a pitcher's going to go with his go-to pitch or his out pitch on a 3-2 count or a 2-0 count, and there it is. It's kind of a mongrelized circle change. Holds it between his middle finger and his ring finger. But when you have the confidence, the first batter of the ball game, to go 3-2, a guy that can steal a base in Drew Stubbs, and you throw him a changeup, you've got confidence you can throw that for a strike. That makes you a complete type pitcher.
3-2 again on Stubbs, and he walks it. The Arizona defense is brought to you by Ford. Bloomquist gets a start tonight out in the left field. The only change along the infield is at first base. Russell Branyan getting a start tonight, and Miguel Montero is behind the plate. Now we're talking about Kennedy pitching for a Diamondback team that lost better than 90 games. His record 9-10, but he pitched nearly 200 innings and had an earned run average of 3.8. That's pretty good.
Yeah, it certainly is. He had a pretty good run of it last year. First time he's ever pitched that many games in the major leagues. He had more than 30 starts last year. They expect him, of course, be in the rotation for a long time. Came over from the Yankees in that big 3-team trade that the Diamondbacks made. Tell us about that one.
Well, Detroit was involved in that trade, and obviously the Yankees along with Arizona. And that was a deal you may remember that a lot of people in Arizona were wondering, you know, why in the world are we trading away our former #1 pick, Max Scherzer?
Right.
I mean, strong, hard-throwing right-hander. And left-handed reliever Daniel Schlereth. Curtis Granderson was in that deal. That's how he wound up with the Yankees. And then Detroit got Phil Koch, who's now a part of their rotation, and outfielder Austin Jackson. So that was a busy deal.
Yeah, and that's how much the Arizona Diamondback scouting people think of this young man, Ian Kennedy.
Years ago, Kennedy had a very serious situation that cost him nearly the entire 2009 year. They found an aneurysm near his right shoulder, and on May the 12th of 2009 had surgery to remove the aneurysm. And he did not pitch again until last year. Short left field, and Bloomquist in to get it, 1 out.
Well, he had symptoms of that aneurysm, Tom. He had numbness in his hand when he would pitch. He couldn't feel the ball. They ran all sorts of tests on him before they found out what the problem was. And as it turned out, it was much more serious than they ever thought.
All right, now Joey Votto, a .407 batter, 2 home runs, 8 batted in, 4 doubles. A rare hitless night for Joey. He did reach base, but 0 for 3.
I'll tell you one thing. You look at Joey Votto in the batter's box, and if you're a pitcher, you're staring there, you can't help but see the guy's face. Look at that face. That's a look of just determination. Nice little cut fastball right there. It seems like the Arizona Diamondbacks, if you have enough on your fastball, want to go after Joey Votto with fastballs upstairs and sliders down and in. We saw the Pirates try to pitch Joey Votto down and away, backdoor him with the breaking ball, throw changeups down and away. That's a quick move to first.
Well, they got a night in Kennedy, and their starter tomorrow afternoon in the series finale, Daniel Hudson, have more than enough fastball.
Oh, yeah. No doubt about that with Hudson.
Bruce Stubbs 5 of 6 in stolen base attempts, and they're trying to prevent that from going 6 out of 7. Votto leading the National League in on-base percentage, tied for first in runs scored, has 3rd best batting average and the 4th most hits. Two and 1 to Joey. Played off that changeup up and away. Now 3 balls and a strike. Good hitters count for a real good hitter.
We saw him, Kennedy that is, throw a changeup on a 3-2 count. Don't be surprised to see him try to do the same right here. A little bigger lead down there this time for Drew Stubbs.
Three balls and a strike. Stubbs running, and Votto swings and drops it foul out of play. Arizona a game under going into play tonight. 7 up, 8 down. The Reds are 1 game over. Started the year 5-0 before losing the finale of that season opening homestand to Brett Myers and the Astros. Reds went to Arizona, lost 2 out of 3, but bounced back to win 2 of 3 in San Diego. And then this homestand came along, where they have only 1 win in 5 tries against the Pirates and now the Diamondbacks. Time to get that thing turned around. The Reds are going to start a mighty big road trip on Friday night to St. Louis and then Milwaukee. High fly ball again. Easy out. Got rolling a run-scoring double in the 3rd inning last night that gave the Reds a short-lived lead that put them ahead 3-2. Before the Diamondbacks scored 2 to take the lead in the 5th, tacked on 1 in the 6th inning. Reds got a run back in the 8th and left the tying run at second base to end the game.
I'm not sure how many of those throwovers by Ian Kennedy are being called from the bench. Oftentimes the bench coach down there, Alan Trammell, will handle that. Or maybe it's Matt Williams tonight calling it. That looks like it's Trammell. And sometimes it's the pitcher that decides to do it. But he's throwing a lot of them over there. And it gets to the point for a pitcher that it becomes distracting. I mean, for a right-handed pitcher to actually think you're going to pick a guy off first base, just not realistic. All you want to do is have him shorten up his lead, maybe a step, a half a step, just to try to keep the running game in check. But a good running spot right here is what you're trying to figure out as a runner. What count can I go on where that pitcher is going to throw an off-speed pitch? And he hasn't thrown too many curveballs yet, so in the case of Kennedy, what's a good changeup count for him?
One and one to Scott Rowland.
And that's the change up there.
Reds saw a lot of this right here when they were out in the desert.
Well, they're a big swinging team. You go back to the remark that Clinton Hurdle made about this team, just observing them as an opposing manager. And he said, you know what, they're big swingers, they're aggressive at the plate, and his pitchers, the Pirates that is, guys like Kevin Correa, stayed away from the sweet part of the bat by changing speeds. And that looks like the same game plan that Galarraga used last night and that Ian Kennedy's trying to follow tonight.
Up and into Scott Rowland with a fastball, 2 balls and 2 strikes. Jay Bruce waiting in the on-deck circle, hoping for a chance here in the opening inning. And there's strike 3. So a leadoff walk and then 3 routine outs for Kennedy. End of 1. Diamondbacks lead 1-0. Serious injuries. Call 1-800-ELK-OHIO, and this trio has been mighty good so far this year, Chris, out of the Reds bullpen.
Well, they certainly have. When you start looking at zeros in your earned run average columns, I like that a lot. And throwing strikes, yes, coming out of the bullpen, coming out to get those hitters right away. Logan Ondrusek did a great job last night, as did Bill Bray. We did not see Aroldis Chapman last night, so we just may see the Cuban Missile sometime tonight.
Stephen Drew to begin things in the Arizona second inning. Drew a .310 batter with 9 runs batted in. See, Stephen has only played in 11 games. He missed the first full week of the season. Strained an abdominal muscle at the end of spring training. And that's a nice piece of hitting right there on an 0-2 pitch. Slaps it into left field. Reds pitchers so far this year have given up more hits on 0-2 counts than any staff in Major League Baseball. Does that mean anything to you, Chris?
I don't know. That ball's up. That's not a very good 0-2 pitch right there. It is a good bit of hitting by Stephen Drew to take it the other way, but when you're down on the count as a hitter, you're a little more defensive. You're not up there trying to pull the ball. You're going to more likely hit it where it's pitched. And I'm sure that Bronson Arroyo simply missed his spot. I mean, you don't want to overplay that 0-2 thing, but I remember playing for Dick Williams as a manager who used to fine the pitchers for 0-2 walks and 0-2 base hits. But after a while, it would get into your head saying, well, I don't want to get a fine right here, so I'm going to throw a ball in the dirt. But then you actually throw a real waste pitch, which really didn't have a good message. Then on the other hand, you have a guy like Greg Maddux who said, look at the batting averages on 0-2. They're the lowest of any count out there. So why wouldn't I want to go after the hitter on an 0-2 count instead of wasting a pitch and getting him on a 1-2 count? I kind of like the Maddux theory, but really be aggressive on the 0-2 count.
Ryan Roberts did major damage in the game here last night in a pair of home runs. Blown away, 1 ball and 1 strike to the Arizona third baseman Ryan Roberts.
He was very surprised that his second home run left the yard. He thought it was in the gap. This ballpark played small last night. At least in the eyes of Ryan Roberts.
Down the right field line, a long run for Jay Bruce. Tagging is Drew at third base. Here comes a throw to third, and it's not going to be in time.
Man, that's still a gun. That is a good arm by Jay Bruce. You're not going to get them all, obviously. This ball way over the line. He's got a long way to throw that ball, but a nice firm throw, a low line drive type throw, and a one hopper to third base. Not bad.
Reds on the left side of the infield draw Roland and Giannis in. Phillips conceding the run at second base. Miguel Montero first pitch, Hakkinen fouls it straight back for strike 1. Runner at third, 1 out. And Arizona here in the second inning trying to add to a 1-0 advantage. Runner at third, Stephen Drew, 1 out in the inning. And the 1-1 pitches up and away to Miguel Montero. Got Montero tonight batting all the way down in that number 8 hole. Despite the fact that he's hitting .380 with a pair of home runs, 7 batted in, and 6 doubles already this year. Well, it appears as though they're just going to go ahead and put Montero on. Well, perhaps not. It looked like Hannigan was going to stay standing. Arroyo will do this frequently, depending on the situation and knowing who's in the on-deck circle. And clearly, he wasn't giving Montero anything to hit.
No, and
after that first pitch.
It looks again, Tom, like Bronson Arroyo's last outing, where he really struggled to get that breaking ball to snap and break good. You know, sometimes it has to do with arm speed. Other times it has to do with the way the ball feels coming out of your fingertips. And he's really struggling tonight trying to find his spots. Now, what he said after his last start is that, you know what, I've had these games before. I thought I'd stay with it and it would finally come to me. It did not. He had an early exit. Hope that he's going to just stay stubborn with it tonight and it'll work. They'll probably bunt him here to get out, stay out of the double play, don't you think?
We're about to find out. Kennedy 0 for 4 as a batter. Arroyo probably trying to get an idea of whether Kennedy was going to bunt. Maybe to show him as he was turning to throw over to first base.
Now the bunt could take the form of two different ones. One could be just a sacrifice to get the runner over to third. The other could be a squeeze.
There's strike one.
Boy, Stephen Drew way down the line at third base on that. And he ran the bases very nicely. The very subtle thing that Stephen Drew does, when you come down the base off a third, you take your lead in foul territory. But when you go back to the bag, you swing around and you stay in fair territory. You run this way on the way back so that you get in the way of the catcher who's trying to throw the ball back to the third baseman. You cut off his throwing lane.
0-1 on Ian Kennedy. Runners on the corners. Kennedy, here comes the squeeze. It looked like momentarily, but Drew noticed right away that pitch was nowhere near the strike zone, and he slammed on the brakes and raced back to the bag.
Yeah, you know, if it was a real squeeze, I think you'd see Ian Kennedy would have gone ahead and offered at that pitch, even if it was a pitch out. I think they're just trying to do a little safety squeeze right here. Or they may put the real one on, I mean, depending on what the count is.
One ball, one strike. Runners on the corners, one out. And no sign of a bunt on that pitch to Kennedy. And this is inside, 2-1. Kennedy again taking a long look down to third. Glenn Sherlock, who has been with the Diamondbacks since 2 years before they started playing as a coach under Buck Showalter, and he has survived a handful of managerial changes. Been with a team since day one.
Now Sherlock is normally the bullpen coach,
yes.
right?
He's done it all. He's done a bullpen
right.
coach, been a bench coach. He's done a little bit of everything.
He's out at third base now. Matt Williams has a broken foot. That's why Sherlock is out there. Alan Trammell on your left and Matt Williams on your right.
Slow roller, and Roland is only plays to first, so just like the safety squeeze. Able to put it on the ground and bring in the run from third. It is 2-0 Diamondbacks.
Well, that's a great bit of base running by Stephen Drew. Read it all the way. He's aggressive down there, and he sees how slowly that ball is hit. And he just beats the throw there, or at least he beats the anticipation of Scott Rowland trying to make that throw, and they push another run across.
Runner at second, and back to the top of the order. It's Willie Bloomquist. He doubled up the left field line to lead off the game and score the game's first run. Popped up, should end the inning. But it's another scoring inning for the Diamondbacks, who lead 2-0. his musical endeavors. Would you most like to hear him sing 1 rock, 2 country, 3 reggae, or 4 rap? Text your answer to 37664. Standard texting rates apply. What about you, Chris Welsh?
Rock. He's a rocker, true to his soul. Although he could probably do pretty good reggae and rock, and country. I've not heard him do any rap. Might be worthwhile hearing. I think Johnny Gomes is more the kind of the rap. Maybe Brandon Phillips, yes. Of course, Brandon likes all sorts of music.
You know, the guy who loves rap music is a guy who's batting right now, Jay Bruce.
Didn't know that.
Yeah, we went on the Caravan with him a couple of years ago. And he and Todd Frazier, very good buddies. And I kept looking at him. I'm like, where does a kid from Beaumont, Texas become a rap fan? He said, I don't know, but I like it.
Good enough.
Of course, he also likes country, as most Texans do. When they had that Reds Uncut, that spectacular fundraiser for the Reds Community Fund over at the Aronoff Center a couple of weeks ago. Paul Yadish, another Texan, and Travis Wood, Jay Bruce, all playing that game, Name That Tune. And they were all singing that very, very famous song by Garth Brooks, I've Got Friends in Low Places.
Well, they were the Texas Trio, right?
Yes.
Those guys? And they were against the Misfits.
Yes.
Which included Johnny Gomes, Travis Wood, and...
Well, no, Wood was with these guys.
Wood was with those guys.
Yeah. They were all singing that song.
I don't think so. Because Wood and Johnny Gomes broke into Journey, Don't Stop Believing.
Oh, Stubbs. I'm sorry. You're right. You're right. It was Travis Wood. Drew Stubbs was the one with those guys.
Woods is an Arkansas boy.
That's exactly right. Fly ball in the short left field. Well, there you have it.
Split up pretty well, really.
Four in a row set down by Ian Kennedy after walking Bruce Stubbs to lead off the first inning. And getting his first start as a Cincinnati Red after being brought up from AAA Louisville is Jeremy Hermida. Hermida, a former #1 pick by the Florida Marlins, and that's where he broke into the big leagues after a very short amount of time in the minor leagues, and everybody thought this guy was going to be a big star for the Marlins. Got a couple of good years, but Marlins felt like they had some other pieces that they were going to build their franchise around. He's still only 27 years old. I mean, there you get an idea of how young he was when he broke in 05. 2-2 to Hermida. Hermida came to camp as a non-roster invitee and actually played quite well after a slow start. Came on strong at the end of the spring. He had a choice to try and catch on with another club or take the assignment down to AAA Louisville, which he obviously did.
A couple of pretty good years with the Marlins. 1 year in particular in 2007 as a Florida Marlin. .296 batting average. Drove in 63 with 18 home runs. Every year that he got regular playing time, he at least hit 13 or more home runs. So he's got some pop.
2 down. Join FoxSportsOhio.com's Hall of Fame baseball writer Hal McCoy right now for a live in-game chat. It's only on FoxSportsOhio.com. Presented by 1-800-SAFE-AUTO and SafeAuto.com. So the first two very easily retired by Ian Kennedy. And here's Ryan Hannigan. And this one's down the right field line. Upton will get there. And boy, here we go again. Kennedy up to his old tricks and has a 2-0 lead.
Game on this homestand when we've had to tie and run at the plate to end the game, and so you know we're close, but just no cigar. So we just gotta get over this hump and just keep battling.
A Geico direct quote from Dusty Baker. Just hoping this Reds team can kick things back into gear the way they began this season. They trail 2-0 as we begin the third inning here tonight. 2, 3, and 4 in the Diamondbacks order. Kelly Johnson, Justin Upton, and Russell Branyan. Johnson doubled off the right field wall his first time up. Justin Upton a sac fly to knock in Willie Bloomquist in the opening inning after a leadoff double by Stephen Drew. A fly ball got him to third, and a bounce out by the pitcher Ian Kennedy brought him in. Reds without a hit. Arizona 2 runs on 3 hits. Swing and a miss, and that takes care of Johnson. That's strikeout number 1 for Bronson Arroyo tonight.
We're really late on every pitch in that at bat.
Batting average leaders among all National Leaguers presented by Honda. Joey Votto checks in number 3. Miguel Montero with the Diamondbacks is 4th, and Brandon number 6. Matt Kemp of the Dodgers off to a big start. Dodgers are playing under first-year manager Don Mattingly, taking over for Joe Torre, and the Dodgers are 2 games under the 500 mark.
Well, they've also been taken over, at least the ownership and management, on a day-to-day basis by Major League Baseball.
Yeah, this was quite a while in coming.
Well, it was a while in coming. A lot of people wondered why it took so long. Bud Selig notified the Dodgers and Frank McCourt today that they were taking over, that he would name someone who would be overseeing the day-to-day operations very shortly.
If I were a betting man on that, and of course I don't have any inside knowledge, but Bud Selig's son-in-law, who is as sharp a guy as you'll ever meet in your life, named Laurel Preeb, he is running the major league office in Arizona. He is married to Bud Selig's daughter, Wendy Selig. And if I were a betting man, and I'm not, but if I were, as Upton has gone swinging, I wouldn't be surprised at all to hear that name Laurel Preeb running the Dodgers very soon.
Might happen. I have no inside
I'm straight guessing.
Inside information on that. Of course, the curious thing is it a temporary thing?
Good question.
Will the McCourts eventually, after they get their very well publicized divorce figured out, will they eventually sell that team back to Major League Baseball, similar to the way the Expos did? And then Major League Baseball found another owner when they moved to Washington and started the Washington Nationals.
Well, we know one thing that will not happen. The Dodgers are not going to be moved.
No.
That much we know for sure, because they'll be lined up. One would assume, and there's been a lot of talk about Steve Garvey putting together a group that, they like to buy the team. Of course, our parent network, News Corp, Fox, owned the Dodgers for a number of years, and really what started a lot of the publicized problems that were well known inside baseball circles anyway. But when Frank McCourt, following the divorce settlement, at least the initial settlement, when he went to Fox and tried to get $200 million loan, and baseball stepped in and said not a chance.
Well, baseball has a rule that it really applies to most every team about how much debt each team can have compared to how much in cash they have. And if you go over that limit, they're going to step in. I think that's what the problem was there.
And a lot of people will tell you in the inside of baseball circles that they were quite surprised that the McCourts got that franchise to begin with, based on what you're talking about.
Yeah, that I don't know.
2-2 to Russell Branion. And Arroyo fans aside. Much better stuff in that inning for Arroyo.
No doubt about it. Hitting his spots finally. Staying stubborn with it, and it's paying off.
Well, let's see if the offense can get this thing going.
Let's do that. For your lawn, visit your local Lowe's for savings and a free MLB fan guide. Compliments of Scott's.
All right, Reds down 2-0. They come to bat here in the bottom half of the third inning. And they're still looking for their first base hit against Arizona starter Ian Kennedy. Kennedy walked Drew Stubbs to lead off the bottom of the first inning, but then rather easily set down Phillips, Votto, and Rowland, and set down the side in order in inning number 2. So 8-9-1 in the Reds' third, down 2-0. And a jam shot roller to the second baseman Johnson. And That's 7 in a row set down by Kennedy.
Boy, he's making it look easy. I mean, there haven't even been really all that many tough outs.
Well, now Bronson Arroyo digs in. 1 hit and 5 at bats this year. Day game to wrap up the series tomorrow. No television, by the way. And plenty of tickets are available for a 12:35 start. We talked about the road trip, 3 games in St. Louis, followed by 3 games in Milwaukee, beginning on Friday night at Busch Stadium. First time all night we've seen a few breaking balls from Kennedy.
Yeah, you know, that was one of his signature pitches. I expected to see a few more of those, but he hasn't needed it here in the first couple of innings.
Threw a fastball right by Arroyo, and that's now 8 in a row set down by Kennedy. His second strikeout of the night. And here comes a man, the only Red to reach base against Kennedy tonight, and that's Drew Stubbs. One and one. Kennedy, a native of Huntington Beach, California, was a high school teammate of Colorado outfielder Seth Smith, and then pitched collegiately at USC. And he retires his side in order. 9 in a row set down by Kennedy. End of 3. Diamondbacks in front. 2-0.
Proudly serving America's restaurants, schools, retailers, and our military around the world. JTM Food Group, by your Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky Toyota dealers, where you can register to win the Tundra at Great American Ballpark. By Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit us at geico.com or call 1-800-947-AUTO. And by John Deere. Visit your local Cincinnati John Deere dealer this deer season.
Arizona bats against Bronson Arroyo here in the top of the 4th inning, leading 2-0. Arroyo coming off a 3rd inning where he fanned the side in a 14-pitch inning, and has gotten ahead of nearly every batter, all but 2 batters this entire game. Throwing a first pitch strike is Arroyo. Talk about his stuff being so much sharper in that 3rd inning. We'll see if he can carry it right here into the 4th and beyond.
Well, you start seeing swings like the one we just saw from Chris Young. That gives you an indication that it is getting better. For him being sharp, it means being more deceptive. Not necessarily hitting his spots perfectly or running the fastball up there at 94 miles an hour. That's not his game. It's all about getting that hitter out on his front foot.
Pitch on the outside corner, and that's strike 3. 4 straight batters fanned by Bronson Arroyo after not striking out a single batter in the first 2 innings.
Now, this is a little bit more Arroyo-like. You're talking about being sharp, yes. How about just touching the outside of that strike zone? Now, we look at that Fox tracks very much like the strike zone anyway. If any part of that ball is in the strike zone, it's a strike. So the whole ball doesn't have to be in the zone.
That brings to mind a story, and you've probably heard many like this, but Doug Harvey, of course, inducted into baseball's Hall of Fame. A great umpire for so many, many years in the National League. There's a bouncing ball to the right side, and that'll be out number 2. Bob Brenly tells a story. Old friend, now an announcer for the Chicago Cubs and former World Series winning manager for these Diamondbacks. His first year in the major leagues, he got rung up on strikes by Doug Harvey. He looked at him, he said, "I didn't think that caught the plate." He said, "Young man, one of the seams of the baseball touched the outside corner." And he turned and walked away.
What do you say to that?
What do you say?
Yes, sir, Mr. Harvey.
All right. We'll be seeing Mr. Brenly and the Cubs in a couple of weeks from now. Our first journey into the Windy City, that first weekend of May, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's part of the trip where the Reds will go from Chicago and head on out to Houston.
Ryan Roberts flied out to Jay Bruce his first time up, but that allowed Stephen Drew to tag up and go from second to third, where he would score on a ground out.
Well, he just looks so much more aggressive here in the last 2 innings than he did in the first 2. Happens sometimes. Sometimes you come out of the bullpen and your stuff doesn't translate to the first, batters that you face. But you stay with it, you're stubborn with it, and you figure out how to get guys out of the first inning. Sometimes that first inning is the toughest. And we've seen that enough here with this Reds pitching staff.
1-2 to count, and just off the outside corner to even things up. Reds will have Phillips, Votto, and Rowland in the bottom of the 4th inning, trying to break through against Arizona starter Ian Kennedy, who dominated the Reds in Arizona a week and a half ago. Allowed only 1 run in 8 innings. Check swing and looked like he went, and he did.
Nasty change up there.
5 strikeouts of the last 6 outs recorded by Arroyo, but he needs some help from the offense. Marilyn Kelly of Mason, Ohio, currently owns a 1996 Camry, will win that beautiful new Tundra on display here at Great American Ballpark, and you can register for your chance to win in an upcoming game. Just stop by your Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky Toyota dealer. All right, Reds down 2-0. Here's Brandon Phillips. He popped up to the left fielder Willie Bloomquist his first time up. Two and 0. Kennedy clearly had some extra adrenaline that night when the Reds came to town. You may recall that was the night Arizona had its home opener. And behind Kennedy's strong performance, they routed the Reds that night 13-2 in front of a big sellout crowd that night at Chase Field in Phoenix. 2-2 to Phillips. Not a hard hit ball all night so far for the Reds.
Well, he's really mixing in that changeup very nicely. Throws it there on a 2-strike count and gets Brandon way out in front.
Well, it's time to take a look at our trivia question tonight, brought to you by AT&T. Who are the only two pitchers to have 6 seasons of 300 or more strikeouts? And they are the top 2 strikeout pitchers of all time. Number 1 and number 2.
Pretty easy question, don't you think?
Well, if I had to give an that hint, I mean, you know, I guess theoretically it didn't have to be the top 2 strikeout pitchers of all time. I mean, but they happen to be the answer to this question. And there's the first Reds hit of the night from who else? Joey Votto. So now 35 consecutive starts. Joey Votto has reached base safely.
Looks like he wants to go down and away and just simply gets this ball up. And Joey Votto, too good of a hitter to pass that one up. Takes what the pitcher gives him. A little fastball in the outer part of the plate. And finally, the Reds have another base runner. That's the first base runner they've had since Drew Stubbs led it off in the bottom of the first with a walk.
So now Kennedy, for the first time in quite a while, will pitch out of the stretch. Well, this is a double play that'll take care of all that. We played 4. Diamondbacks still lead at 2-0.
side, a fastball to Johnson, a curveball to Upton, a changeup to Russell Branyan. Last inning, Chris Young goes down on a fastball, a ground out, and then another strikeout of Ryan Roberts on a changeup. And all of a sudden, Bronson Arroyo, who looked very uncomfortable the first couple of innings, has really found his groove. 5 punch-outs overall in 4 innings for the Reds right-hander.
Well, he's retired the last 8 batters. And he'll face 8, 9, and 1 Montero, Kennedy, and Bloomquist here in the Arizona 5th inning. Well, you thought maybe, just maybe, something would get started after that 1-out single by Votto, but on the very next pitch, a double play ball ends the inning. Strike 1 to Montero. He drew an unintentional intentional walk. His first time up with a runner at third and only 1 out in the inning. Arroyo was not going to give him anything to hit. And it turned out to be the pitcher, Ian Kennedy, on a ball that rolled about 25 feet that knocked in the second Arizona run tonight. Well, we understand the weather tomorrow will be far and away better than what we had the last couple of days. Temperatures expected to get up into the low to mid 60s with plenty of sunshine. So why not come on down to the ballpark? Montero gone swinging. That's 6 strikeouts over the last 7 batters faced by Arroyo. The answer to our AT&T trivia question: the only 2 pitchers with 300 or more strikeouts in 6 different years, Nolan Ryan and Randy Johnson. Nolan Ryan, of course, baseball's all-time strikeout king, a Hall of Famer, and Randy Johnson will be a slam dunk first ballot Hall of Famer when he comes up in 3 more years. As Kennedy grounds out, I had the privilege, and I call it a privilege, of watching those years when Randy Johnson, now this is his days in Seattle, but he became the best pitcher in the game in Arizona. And of course, the tandem of Johnson and Schilling had a better 4-year run together than any 2 pitchers on any staff in the history of the game. And yes, that includes Drysdale and Koufax, all of them. Johnson, just in 01 and 02 alone, won 45 games and lost 11 in back-to-back years. But that 2002 season, I've never seen anything like it. Chris, that was the year he went 24-5 with a 2.3 ERA in 260 innings. Struck out 334 batters and walked 71.
Boy, you talk about dominating.
It was unbelievable to see it.
You know, it's interesting, Tom, because I believe then he wasn't even throwing his fastball as hard as it was when he was in Seattle. But that slider of his, oh man, you could tell him it was coming, and they still swing and miss.
And maybe the most remarkable year of all of it for Johnson was the year the Diamondbacks lost 114 games, his final year in Arizona. In the 2004 year, Johnson went 16-14 with an ERA of 2.6 on a team that lost nearly 115 games. And threw a perfect game, of course, that year down in Atlanta. Well, if I'm not mistaken, he will be in the same class. Now, Johnson did not pitch last year. His final year was with the Giants 2 years ago, right?
I believe so.
So I think that he will be in the same Hall of Fame class, if I've got my years right, with Greg Maddux. How about that?
Wow.
Huh. 2 of the best of all time.
Yeah. Certainly 2 of the best of this generation.
Well, Johnson won 5 Cy Youngs. Maddux won 4. Is that right?
I believe so.
1-2 on Bloomquist.
Now, what about Clemens? Isn't he in that same year?
Got a feeling he might be waiting, though.
Well, that's true. But he'll be on the ballot.
Yes, you're right.
The same year, I think.
Yes. And, yeah, I think you're right. Or maybe he was 1 year before.
Was it 1 year earlier? Okay.
1 ball and 2 strikes on Willie Bloomquist. Arroyo trying to make it 3 straight perfect innings. And it's 2-2 to Bloomquist, who has doubled, scored, and popped up to Joey Votto. For a long time there, Johnson and Clemens were running neck and neck for the number 2 spot. And of course, finally this summer, Bert Blyleven will get his just due, being inducted into baseball's Hall of Fame. 11 in a row set down by Arroyo. He still trails 2-0. To receive a Reds mascot wall sticker thanks to Tire Discounters. See the Reds and the Marlins Sunday, May the 1st. Call 513-381-REDS or visit Reds.com today. Jay Bruce, Jeremy Hermida, Ryan Hannigan. Well, the Reds down 2-0. They bat against Ian Kennedy in the 5th. Kennedy has pitched 12 innings of baseball against Cincinnati this year and allowed 1 run.
Well, he has got most of the Reds hitters exactly where he wants them, which is behind on the fastball, just like Jay Bruce on that last pitch, and way ahead of it on his changeup. He was ready to pitch, and Jay Bruce broke his bat and going back to the dugout to get another one.
It's a guy who's pretty focused right there. I mean, he was staring over the top of that glove to get the sign, and the batter is standing all the way in the on-deck circle.
You know, he's cruising right along so fast. Maybe the Reds ought to try this a couple of times. Step out, try to break his rhythm a little bit. We look up on the board through the first 4 innings. You've got 1 hit, and that's an opposite field single. Well, he's throwing his 3 pitches for strikes, and then his 4th, a little cutter, mixing that in every once in a while.
Throwing a gem tonight at Wrigley Field in the 2nd game of that day-night doubleheader, shutting out the Cubs 4-0. Well, Harang is off to a fabulous start for San Diego.
Well, you know, he's back home where he grew up. He's in a big ballpark, which is very friendly to pitchers, and sometimes just a change of scenery will help him a lot. I think he developed a phobia about pitching. Hello.
That one got Kennedy on the leg. It'll be an infield hit by Bruce, and Kennedy.
That is a severe shin burger right there.
Just now trying to get up. He tried to stand up and thought better of it. And naturally, this training staff will come sprinting out of the dugout, and trailing not far behind is Kirk Gibson and pitching coach Charles Nagy.
Well, that
got him in a calf.
Well, you know what? When that ball, that would be interesting if it got him in the calf, because I didn't think he was able to turn around that quickly. But they're feeling the back of his leg.
Oh, now he's pointing down to
his ankle.
Yeah, outside of the right ankle.
This ball back on him right now.
Chris, you almost wonder sometimes as you watch him get hit and then follow through and almost roll over on the ankle. You wonder sometimes if that's not where somebody got hurt, rather than the ball striking him on the leg.
Well, the fact that he's up walking around right now is pretty good news. I think what helped him right there, Tom, is the fact that when he got hit, his foot was off the ground. So when it gets hit by the ball, it actually can give a little bit instead of being planted.
Well, they will obviously let Kennedy make a couple of warm-up pitches to test everything out and make sure he's okay. Must have said something funny out there to his manager, Kirk Gibson, because he broke into a belly laugh out there on the mound.
Well, Kirk Gibson's not prone to laughing on the field very often. Between the lines, he is Mr. Serious.
Well, you know Kirk Gibson a little bit. I mean, I think a lot of fans, they remember Kirk Gibson. Everybody remembers a home run he hit against Dennis Eckersley, Game 1 of the 1988 World Series. But,
sure.
For a lot of us who are old enough to remember watching Kirk Gibson play college football, one of the best receivers in the country at Michigan State. I mean, this guy was a stallion. Is he the kind of guy that's prone to smiling and laughing a lot when he's not between the lines?
I don't know him really well enough to know that. He's a nice guy, a really solid guy overall. I know when it's on, you're on the field, it is all business. Now, if you're Jeremy Hermida, you maybe drop one down and test that leg after all. Put a couple of guys on base.
Jeremy Hermida. Jay Bruce aboard. Hermida bounced out to the first baseman his only time up. A ball and a strike.
Well, they've got the third baseman Ryan Roberts playing about even with the bag just in case. Of course, at this part of the order, you wouldn't think that you'd put two guys on and then looking at number 7, 8, 9 coming up.
1-1 to Hermida. Check swing. They appealed down to third, and Adrian Johnson said he went too far. So Kennedy ahead of Hermida, 1 ball and 2 strikes. Short lead over there by Jay Bruce, held on by the first baseman Branyan, and Hermida looks at strike 3. Third strikeout tonight by Ian Kennedy. Well, before every game right here on Fox Sports Ohio, it's Reds Live with Jim Day and Jeff Pecoro. Your exclusive home for Reds baseball. Reds Live, presented by Ray's St. Clair Roofing. I understand you have a neighbor that needed some roof work done after the terrible storms we had in the tri-state here last night.
Yeah, I may have to have him call one of our best sponsors there and see if we can't get him out to fix it. We had a little bit of I guess a mini tornado coming through the neighborhood down there.
Scary last night for a lot of people.
I heard the train sound for the first time in my life.
Really?
It's scary.
Well, my wife, who is not a native Midwesterner, well, she was just terrified. I mean, she's shaking me awake and saying, hey, what do we do? Never been down this road before. That was scary stuff for a lot of folks. I don't care if you're born and raised in the Midwest or wherever you're raised. When they're talking about tornadoes, it's scary business. And all the tragic stories that we've heard about and read about and seen on television being told from Virginia and North Carolina and Oklahoma and many other parts in recent days. A lot of these guys with the Diamondbacks were talking about that very topic last night. All of a sudden, sirens blasting in and around downtown. When you're staying up on the 15th or 21st floor of a hotel, it's not very comforting when the sirens are going off and you're hearing about tornado watches.
Yeah. I'm not sure it's comforting anywhere.
You're right. One and two on Ryan Hannigan. Jay Bruce with a leadoff hit on a liner off the right ankle to pitcher Ian Kennedy, but he got right down to business on the next batter, Jeremy Hermida, striking him out. Hannigan a look down to Mark Berry, the Reds' third base coach. Billy Hatcher is the first base coach. Do they hit and run 2-2 pitch? Runner not going, and a bouncer foul.
Hey, Reds fans, if you're in the restaurant industry, listen up. Let JTM Food Group help you with great tasting products for your menu. Inspired solutions, better results. JTM.
Two and two on Hannigan. Swung so hard he nearly fell over.
Hey, speaking of food and JTM, we want to thank the folks, not just necessarily JTM, but the folks down from the Diamond Club kitchen and the chefs down there, Nicole Cordamache and the chef Mike Marcus, and our main man, our new main man, Adrian Ruff. In his 6 years as chef down here in the Diamond Club, they brought up what a spread for us tonight in the booth.
I appreciate you guys telling me about it.
Well, you were in there having that skyline. I know you love skyline. In fact, you've been knocking those Coney dogs down just about every inning. The Reds have put up a 0 here.
Yep.
We had it working. 80 back ribs,
very
fried
nice.
chicken. I particularly like the cauliflower with cheese sauce. Outstanding.
You're a cauliflower with cheese sauce kind of guy.
Yeah, no doubt about that. So Adrian Ruff, keep it coming, big guy. You might want to mix in a vegetable now and then.
Every now and again, maybe. Fruit. And this is a sinking liner that will fall in, a base hit.
Well, that was a battling of an at-bat for Brian Hannigan. I mean, he fouled off a lot of tough pitches. Kennedy kept fire strikes in there. And finally, Ryan Hannigan, look how many pitches he threw him. 8 of them overall. There's number 7, and then number 8 down and inside, little inside-out swing. He was so used to trying to stay back, making sure that he wasn't going to get fooled on an off-speed pitch, that he was able to inside out that bad boy into right field.
Well, now Paul Yanish, the batter. He grounded out to the second baseman, is only at bat tonight. Reds have 2 on in an inning for the first time all night long. And they have more hits, twice as many hits in this 5th inning as they had through the front 4 against Ian Kennedy. Of course, that's the good news. Now you need the bottom part of your order to get a base hit to keep this thing going and try to get some runs on the board against Kennedy. 2-0 on Giannis. Reds are obviously not going to hit for Bronson Arroyo. Their bullpen has been by far overworked to Dusty Baker's liking. Arroyo, after some early problems in the first and second inning, has been brilliant over the last three. So with all that in mind, this becomes an especially important at bat for Paul Giannis. 3-0. Talked about the numbers for Giannis last night, batting with runners on as opposed to hitting with the bases clean. I'm starting to get ready to ask you, Chris, you know, with knowing your pitcher's on deck, would you give Giannis there a 3-0 green light?
I would, yeah. Even though he's batting in the number 8 spot, you know, you're likely to get a fastball, more likely on a 3-0 pitch than any other count, obviously. And some guys just don't like to swing on a 3-0 count, period. He just gets psyched out. And the other theory, Tom, is that they'll say, well, you'll get the same pitch oftentimes on a 3-1 count that you will on a 3-0 count. So why not keep the pressure on the pitcher, making him continue to throw strikes? But throwing strikes has not been a problem tonight for Ian Kennedy. He has been all over the strike zone.
3 balls and 2 strikes on Paul Giannis with 2 on and 1 out. Reds down 2-0 last of the 5th inning. That's confidence in your off-speed stuff right there.
That's why, you know, it's interesting. We talked about Ian Kennedy coming out of USC, #1 draft pick for the Yankees. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Sam LeCure, Mike Leake. These guys who come out of big-time programs, they seem to be more polished. I mean, you're playing in the Pac-10. You are pitching against good competition week in and week out. Now, I know that he was drafted back in '06, so it's taken him a while to get to this point in the major leagues. Mike Leake light years ahead of him as far as pitching development. But, I mean, you don't learn that overnight, being able to throw that changeup. That's something that you learn over a period of time on a 3-2 count. Plenty of confidence there. But he is just set convinced that Jay Bruce is running on a 3-2 count.
We'll see if Jay is running 3-2. They're not. And it's popped up. Two away in the inning and a pitcher coming up. We'll see if Arroyo can do something, anything, to help his cause. His team being shut out on 3 base hits here in the 5th inning. Bruce at second base, Hannigan on at first. Arroyo struck out his only time up tonight. Arroyo knocked in 8 runs last season. Hit a home run. And you're not talking about a guy who's an especially good hitter, but he certainly was an opportune hitter last year.
Well, you know, coming up, though, as an amateur player, he was a shortstop and a pretty doggone good hitter. But what you do in high school doesn't mean you can do in major league level. I'll tell you one thing about Ian Kennedy. He must be hard to pick up because they just don't seem to be getting good looks at him, much less good swings.
2 on, 2 out, 1 ball, 2 strikes, and this ought to do it in the Reds' 5th inning. It's another scoreless inning. And to 5, Arizona still leading 2-0.
And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cincinnati Reds.
Well, in the opening inning, back-to-back doubles by Willie Bloomquist and Kelly Johnson allowed Justin Upton to drive in a run with a sac fly to center field after a leadoff double by Stephen Drew. A fly ball to right got him to third, and a little roller down to third brought him in. So you're up to speed on all the scoring in this one through the front 5 innings tonight. 2 runs, 3 hits for Arizona, leaving 2 men on base. The Reds have been shut out on 3 hits, and they have stranded 3 as well. Kelly Johnson, Justin Upton, Russell Branyan to face Arroyo here in the 6th inning. Bronson has retired 11 in a row. Johnson a double and a struck out. (17 out of 20 first pitch strikes tonight for Arroyo against Arizona. Of course, Bronson outdueled Daniel Hudson on that Saturday in the desert a week and a half ago to get a win. And he didn't get a whole lot of offense in that start either. Hudson was so good. And we'll see him tomorrow. Those are the numbers from Arroyo. The 1 unearned run in 6 innings against the Diamondbacks, and that is strike 3 called. No strikeouts for Arroyo in the first 2 innings. He has fanned 7 over the last 3 1/3.
You know, Tom, and looking at him during the first 2 innings, you thought with the stuff that he had tonight that he may not get a strikeout all night long. He looked like he was pitching defensively, wasn't hitting his spots. His curveball was kind of rolling up there. Changeup was down to dirt. He just keeps after it. Found his groove. Get him a couple of runs.
Now Justin Upton, and it's strike 1. Well, you talk about under the radar. That certainly has been Bronson Arroyo. He's led the Reds in starts in each of the last 5 years, and innings pitched for the last 5. of course, he is one of only 5 pitchers in all of Major League Baseball, 1 of 5, with at least 15 wins in each of the last 3 years, joining certainly bigger names. Cy Young Award winners Roy Halladay, CC Sabathia, Tim Lincecum, and John Lester from Boston. It's a foul ball by Upton.
Boy, after that first couple of innings, every time you look up at the scoreboard, Bronson Arroyo's got him no balls and 2 strikes, 1 ball, 2 strikes. In his last at bat, he had Upton 1 and 2, struck him out on a curveball. So we'll see now ahead 0 and 2 what he's going to do with him. I don't see him shaking off Ryan Hanigan very often. I mean, when that catcher puts a sign down and you are automatically in your windup, you anticipate what he wants, and you are really on the same page. Every once in a while they'll shake. Most of the time he'll just go with what Hanigan calls. Here comes another hook. A nasty hook. It's the name of his boat, right?
Challenge with a fastball on 2 and 2, and Upton a big rip and a foul ball back. Pitches on the night for Bronson Arroyo. And it should be out number 2 here in the inning. Drew Stubbs will give way to Jay Bruce. Russell Branyan coming up. Bearcat Bowl 5, a 1-hour special looking at Cincinnati Bearcats football, will premiere tomorrow at 8 o'clock. You'll hear from head coach Butch Jones, as well as current and former Bearcat players. The future of the program will tell you what's going on tomorrow at 8 o'clock. Fox Sports Ohio. Understand they had a very good spring. Gotten to know Coach Jones a little bit, like him a lot. Track record of winning football, and he'll be the first to tell you he was disappointed in the way things went his first year last year following Brian Kelly, but he likes his team coming up again. And Russell Branyan. 2 down, nobody on. 2-0 Arizona leads in the 6th. And pulled the string as Branyan was looking for that fastball that he could clobber into the Commonwealth.
And he could hit one that far too. This guy is some kind of strong. Really one of the more likable guys that have come through and worn a Reds uniform over the years. Plenty of power. He was a guy you'd love to come out early and watch take BP. Knock him out of sight.
3-1.
Of course, the Reds first saw him in the interleague series when he used to play so often for the Cleveland Indians.
But 4 different times with the Indians, right?
Then he came over to the Reds and a couple of years with the Milwaukee Brewers in Seattle. And he had 2 good years back-to-back for Seattle. In 2009, he had 31 home runs, and last year he had 25. Remarkably found himself without a job and came to big league camp as a minor league roster guy with Arizona, made the team, and here he is.
hanging around. Still 3 balls, 2 strikes. Reds have a top of the order coming up in the bottom of the 6th inning. Stubbs, Phillips, Votto. They'd love to send about 8 or 9 guys up in the bottom of the 6th inning. See, the 31 home runs in 2009 really rejuvenated Russell Brannon's career. That was with Seattle. And he is gone, swinging to retire the side. 8 strikeouts, a season high for Bronson Arroyo. But the Reds still on the short end of a 2-0 game. Jay Bruce, which saved the game last season against the Arizona Diamondbacks. What a play it was. Up and over the wall, a fair ball, taking away a home run from Adam LaRoche. And that was the Coors Light Freeze Cam, brought to you by Frost Brewed Coors Light. Well, Jay and company are trying to get this offense back into gear. Friday and Saturday, each of the first 2 games of this homestand, they had 15 hits in each of the first 2 games. Well, now over their last 23 innings, the Reds only have a total of 12 hits. 3 tonight against Ian Kennedy. And 2 of those came in the 5th inning. But Stubbs, Phillips, and Votto. Quickly 0-2.
I'll tell you what, Kennedy and Bronson Arroyo are pitching very similar styles, and they're just dialing up the fastball every once in a while, but their mainstay tonight is that off-speed stuff. They've really kept the hitters off their stride, out of balance. Once you get in a game like this, it seems like almost the energy of a well-pitched game takes over. Tough to get anything going offensively.
Well, for the first time all night, the Diamondbacks have activity in their bullpen as Kennedy has hit the 90 pitch mark. They're only left-handed. Here's Joe Patterson. Three and 2 on Drew Stubbs.
Where Stubbs seems to be this year a little more patient at the plate, a little more confident maybe in his ability to spoil good pitches, not chasing wildly as much as he has in the past. That's a big stride forward for him.
And he draws a walk to open things up here in the 6th inning. Second time he's walked tonight.
That's what Dusty Baker have asked of him, to be the leadoff man. And he didn't seem like he was comfortable doing that last year. He didn't even seem like he was very comfortable doing that this year in spring training. So there are all sorts of different scenarios. Was Brandon Phillips going to be the leadoff man? Was Drew Stubbs? Was Jay Bruce? They threw out all sorts of names. But, Stubbs was the guy on opening day, and he hasn't moved from that spot yet. He keeps this up, and, he's on a couple of times every night. Now let's get him over and get him in.
Strike one to Brandon Phillips. Phillips has flied out to short left field and bounced out to short. Leadoff man aboard. Reds down 2-0. And 0-1 to Brandon. And he started to laid off. And it's 1 ball and 1 strike with Joey Votto waiting. Many of the players, with the exception, of course, of the man on the mound, wearing long sleeves tonight. Began the game with temperatures in the high 40s. Brandon trying to hit the ball in the seats and not going to catch up with that fastball up around his shoulders. The Reds' bat rack has been quite chilly the last couple of games. But can they finally break through here in the last of the 6th inning against Ian Kennedy? The ball's out of play. Talked about Kennedy 2 starts ago. Sensational against the Reds. He was lit up by the Cardinals his last start. But has turned right back around a week and a half later against this same Cincinnati team, which incidentally is the highest scoring team despite their recent woes in the entire National League. And he has just completely shut them down, at least through 5 innings.
You know, that scoring number can be so deceptive, especially early in the year when you have a small sample size. You have a couple of blowout wins where you put 10 or 15 runs on the board, and it really sways the thing to make your average runs per game way up there. Maybe the thing to do is to take the median instead of the mean and really say, all right, you know, how many runs do we really get on an average night, instead of having it blow up by, you know, having a couple of blowout wins. I mean, it could be a team that scores 5 runs a night. You're going to win a lot of games.
Oh, yeah. Grounded foul. Of course, you know, it's interesting that, you know, you talk about Kennedy's last game when St. Louis just pounded Kennedy. And, of course, the Cardinals went through the first week and a half of the season where they didn't score more than 3 runs in a game. Yeah. And now, all of a sudden, they have become the #1 hitting team, at least as far as batting average is concerned, the Cardinals, in the entire league. And that game against Kennedy, in fact, that series against Arizona, was a springboard for the Cardinals to try and start swinging the bats better.
Good at bat right here by Brandon Phillips. He's fouled off a couple of pitches, fouled off a fastball down the right field line, fouled off a changeup inside. Just keep that philosophy going of making the pitcher work. Don't take a big, overzealous hack here with 2 strikes on you. Kid's got a nice move to first base, and he's thrown it over there about 8 times with Drew Stubbs. For at least 4 the first time he was on base in the first inning, and that's the 2nd or 3rd here. Not a real big lead by Stubbs either.
High fly ball, center field. On a night like tonight with chilly temperatures, that ball will not carry even a little bit. We invite you to check out the new Johnny Bench exhibit presented by Dinsmore and Scholl at the Reds Hall of Fame. For more information, visit redsmuseum.org. Great display of Johnny Bench. Now Votto, the tying run, 1 on, 1 out. Votto 1 of 2 in the game, has fly to left and singled that way. Talked about Patterson, their lone left-hander in the bullpen, was up and throwing when the inning began. course, they're not going to use him here against Votto. But should the Reds get one or two more on and bring Jay Bruce to the plate in this inning, they may bring him out of the bullpen. Good breaking ball for a strike.
Yeah, Votto gave up on that one, not thinking it was going to come back and touch the strike zone.
Stubbs is off to the races.
Come on, Stubbsy.
He'll easily score. Votto is going to make the turn and stop right there. A run-scoring double by Votto, and the Reds are on the board. A 2-1 game. I think Joey kicking himself a little bit right there. He had thoughts of going to third and may have stumbled.
Now leave it to Joey Votto, though, to pick this offense up. You know he had to be figuring, watching this ball game, watching Ian Kennedy work his way through this lineup, that he's got to take it on himself to make something happen. And he got a pitch that he could rip, and he hit it hard down the right field line for extra bases. Drive Stubbs all the way in from first. Look at him run. Man, oh, man.
He nearly fell down.
He could have fallen down and crawled home as fast as he got to third base. And Joey Votto probably disappointed right there in not getting to third, but he's still in scoring position. Now the decision by Kirk Gibson. They're going to make a change right now. How about that? At 102 pitch count for Ian Kennedy.
What do you think?
That's why Kirk Gibson gets the big bucks. We just call him as we see him. I'm glad to see the kid go, personally.
And I think you'd find a whole lot of guys in that first base side dugout that would agree with you. All right.
Let's take a break.
Our Skyline Chili. Call to the bullpen.
You've been knocking him down all night long.
And I can promise you this guy could knock him down, Juan Gutierrez. Well, the Reds finally break through thanks to a Joey Votto double that scores Drew Stubbs. Votto driving in his 9th run of the year. And now taking over for Ian Kennedy, his hard-throwing but erratic right-hander, Juan Gutierrez. He'll face Scott Rowland.
In his 3rd year with the Arizona Diamondbacks, 9 games already. But he's given up a couple of home runs in 7 innings, and be a great time to groove one right here to the Reds' 3rd baseman.
Rowland tonight is struck out looking and bounced into a double play. Tying run at second, 1 out, we're into 6th. That's a pile of pitches for a guy really going 5 1/3 innings. A very odd sort of start, isn't it?
Yeah, and he really seemed like he was just working through the lineup with no problem at all. I'll tell you, the Reds hitters battled him a little bit. They fouled a lot of pitches off. They made a lot of easy outs, yes, but they battled and ran that pitch count up there. So kudos to them to at least get him out of the ball game. See if they can't try their luck in the bullpen a little bit better. Gutierrez is prone to the long ball. He gave up 13 of them last year in about 50 innings.
He's fallen behind Rolen 3-0. This could be the only batter that he faces.
You project 13 home runs in about 56 innings out over the course of a long season. If he was a starter, he'd lead the league in gopher balls given up. Green lighting them right here.
What about you?
I'm always green light Scott Rowland. He's my veteran.
Borderline strike right there.
That's the old 3-0 Leo.
Three balls, one strike on Rolen. Now Gutierrez is going to step off the rubber. A base hit right here by Rolen could tie this game. We're in the bottom of the 6th inning at Great American Ballpark. And a jam shot fly ball short left. I mean, that ball just ate Rolen up. And there are 2 away in the inning.
Well, 3-0 he came with a fastball in the inner part of the plate. And 3-1, he had a little run on that fastball, too, and Rolen just could not get the bat head around on it.
Performance Honda Exmo. Look at that swing by Rolen. Now Jay Bruce, and they're going to leave in the right-hander Gutierrez to face him. Bruce down a strike.
Well, that's the problem with only having one left-hander in the bullpen. You know, you're not really sure when to use him. It could be the most important part of the game would come in the 5th or 6th inning, but so many managers are reluctant to use that one left-hander then because you may need him again in the 9th if you get that far, or in the 8th anyway. If they'll leave him in for Bruce, they'll leave him in for the next guy, Hermida.
One and one to Jay Bruce. Breaking ball and a dandy by Gutierrez to get ahead. Manager showing some faith in this right-hander to face a left-handed batting Jay Bruce, tying run at second base, and he just ate Bruce up in that at-bat. Wow. So, Reds get one back, but still trail by a run.
In the top 10 for all selected pediatric specialties in U.S. News and World Report's 2010 Best Children's Hospitals. By your Cincinnati Northern Kentucky Honda dealers. Visit mycincinnatihondadealer.com for current offers. And by Wendy's. You know when it's real.
2-1 ball game along the banks of the Ohio. Bronson Arroyo on the short end of that game. He's retired 14 in a row. Gave up single runs in each of the first 2 innings. Struck out the side in the third. His first 3 strikeouts of the night. Struck out 2 more in the fourth. 1 in the fifth. 2 more in the sixth. So he'll face Chris Young, Stephen Drew, and Ryan Roberts here in the 7th inning of a 1-run game. We had a 1-run decision here last night, with Arizona prevailing 5-4. There's a liner right at Stubbs, 1 out. Well, had a lot of knuckle to it at the very end. Saw Stubbs have his glove up around his chin, then all of a sudden straight down and caught it at the knee.
Well, the hardest ball that a center fielder will have is the one that is hit right at him. Sounds funny, but you have no depth perception because the ball never gets high enough really to judge it against the stands. And sometimes you'll see center fielders just freeze for a moment, not knowing which way the ball is going to go. That ball, when it comes knuckling at you, it is hit right on the screws.
One ball and 1 strike on Stephen Drew. He doubled and scored. In fact, that was the last Arizona hit in this game all the way back in the 2nd inning. Went on a 0-2 pitch. Drew drove one down the left field line for 2 bases, just like he does here, but this will be a single. So that snaps a string of 15 in a row retired by Arroyo. Friday, April the 29th, you can join the Reds celebrating the 2010 Rawlings Gold Glove Award winners, Brandon Phillips, Scott Rowland, and Bronson Arroyo. The first 30,000 fans in attendance receive a Gold Glovers photo thanks to Smart Travel. 381 Reds, 381 REDS, or visit Reds.com for tickets to each and every game at Great American Ballpark. Arroyo has not pitched out of the stretch since the final out in the 2nd inning.
That's a nice feeling as a pitcher. Now he takes his practice throws in between innings. He'll mix in some from the stretch just to make sure. Well, you've been mowing him down if you go that long.
Well, we talked about the very beginning of the game. You look back at 2010 and in the rare games where Arroyo would get roughed up and what he would do immediately thereafter, and some of the runs that he got on. I mean, really, you could dig back all the way to 2008. Who could forget those couple of starts he had in back-to-back years during interleague play against Toronto? Then all of a sudden, next thing you know, he'll go the next 15, 20, 25 games with an ERA of about 3. And he'll win 12, 13, 14 games.
You know, if you could take Bronson Arroyo and just take out, you know, maybe the 2 worst games of each season from his ERA calculations. I mean, his ERA would be right down there among the league leaders. But he always has 1 or 2 games a year, which completely blows him out of the water.
Yeah, they're not a little bit ugly. They're really ugly.
Every time he goes and pitches in Toronto, he just might not even want to go across the border next time.
Check swing and a miss by Roberts. And to back up, if you weren't with us at the very beginning of the game, Chris.
This is just last year. Last year in April, pitched against San Diego, gave up 8 runs. What did he do after that? He went 5-0 with a real good earned run average. Same thing in May when he got beat up by the Cardinals. Then he went off and next 22 starts went 13-7. In September, real bad game against Colorado. Remember that one, 7 earned runs. Then he finishes up 3-0 with a 2.2 earned run average. So he's capable of a real bad game, but then a real good run.
Reds have action in their bullpen for the first time tonight. Left-hander Aroldis Chapman getting loose. And you almost wonder if Chapman is getting ready for the next batter. Miguel Montero.
He might be. That was pitch number 106 for Bronson Arroyo. Now when we see 106 on the board when Chapman is in there, it's not number of pitches, it's just miles per hour. There's that number again.
Well, you are the king of Segway. I mean, the way you play off that pitch count, you were probably waiting for that until he got to a 106.
It's the first time.
Tell the truth.
No, have not. No. I'm surprised he has that many pitches. I was surprised Ian Kennedy had that many.
1-2 to count on Roberts. And it's 1-0 and fouled out of play. Arroyo trying to finish off the pesky Roberts. He lifts a fly ball into left center field, and this is trouble. All the way to the wall, and Ryan Roberts has burned the Reds again. So the Diamondbacks get that run right back. After Arroyo retires 15 in a row, he allows a single to Drew and an RBI double on a 2-strike pitch to Roberts.
Yeah, not only a 2-strike pitch, a 1-ball 2-strike count. He had him 0-2, went to 1-2, and Ryan Roberts, man, oh man, he must just love hitting in this ballpark. Hit 2 home runs last night. And he drives that ball all the way to the wall and left center field, and yep, I feel the same way.
Well, perhaps we saw some signs when this inning began. The very first batter, Chris Young, just hit a rocket to the center fielder, Drew Stubbs. The next batter singled. Then Arroyo, after getting ahead 0-2, had a hard time putting Roberts away. But Arroyo certainly gives the Reds something they have lacked consistently, and that is an outstanding starting performance. But he leaves here in the 7th, trailing
hit in one outing, 3 walks in the other, but nothing coming around to score.
The 3-walk outing that Chapman had out there in Arizona was a very odd inning, because he walked the leadoff man and then picked him off. He struck out the next batter, but then walked back-to-back hitters before he struck out Henry Blanco to end the inning. Of course, much was made of Chapman and what went on in San Diego, the final game of that last road trip, where clearly something wasn't right with Chapman. And Ramon Hernandez's battery mate was really giving it to him in the dugout about being honest and telling the truth and how you're feeling, and not just say, yeah, I'm fine, if you're not. And they get back here. He doesn't pitch for a couple of days. He comes in the other night where he hits 106 miles per hour on the radar gun. And now there's pretty much a standing rule between Aroldis Chapman and Dusty Baker, where if Chapman does not inform the manager that he would be unable to go before each and every game, then Dusty assumes that he's good to go. He has not pitched in back-to-back games since coming back after a couple of days off. There's a pop-up by Montero for the second out of the inning.
After that rest over the weekend against the Pittsburgh Pirates, he did get the pitch. The first 3 games against the Pirates, he did pitch the last game. And that was Monday, the night that he hit 106. Andrew McCutchen got a good smell on that one. I'll tell you, had the best at bat against Chapman that evening was the opposing pitcher, Kevin Correa.
Xavier Nady is going to come up and bat now for Gutierrez, who got the final 2 outs in the bottom of the 6th inning.
I think, Tom, what the Reds are going to have to figure out, Dusty Baker and Brian Price in particular, is how they're going to use Aroldis Chapman. Is he a guy that you can use back-to-back days? Or is he a guy that you'd be better off using, bringing him in one game, giving him 2 or 3 innings to pitch, and then give him a couple days off?
Well, you know, Chris, the question I would ask you, and I mean, you had all that time in the big leagues, and you know pitching as well as anybody around. If you're only allowed, or if you only can use a guy maybe once every couple of days or once every 3 days, and you can't use him in back-to-back games, and this is all hypothetically speaking.
Sure.
Now, I'm not saying he can or he can't. But I mean, can you really keep a guy like that in your bullpen?
Well, they had to be very careful last year how often they used Arthur Rhodes, because you wanted to keep him fresh. He was so good when you kept him fresh that it was worth pitching around certain situations so you could rest him to make sure that when you brought him in, he would be lights out. Now, if Chapman can be like that, you can figure it out. But I think at his age, it's more or less getting used to pitching out of the bullpen. Remember, he never did that. When he was at the Cuban national team, he pitched once a week. He would start. So coming out of the bullpen is one thing. Learning how to warm up fast and get ready is one thing. But actually learning how to pitch one day and then the second day and then maybe even a third day in a row when your great fastball's not there, that's the other thing. And I don't think that's going to be a problem for him. I really think his other stuff, his changeup and his slider are plenty good enough. And as long as his arm allows him to be healthy enough and pitch 2 or 3 days in a row, he'll figure out a way to do it. He's a smart kid. And we did a tech talk with him out in Arizona. We ran it tonight. Very interesting young man. He's got a pretty good clue about what he does as far as his delivery. For a young guy, he's just going to get better and better as long as he stays healthy.
3-2 now on Xavier Nady. Runner at second, 2 out. And he walks.
Yeah, but you can watch Chapman if you really study how he pitches and how he sets up. He's not quite there as far as repeating his delivery every time. He's a work in progress. The first batter that he faced, Miguel Montero, when he took the ball right in this position right now and he finally got a sign from Hannigan and got ready to pitch, he was much more bent over and lower to the ground. Now against Xavier Nady, he was a little bit taller. He's back to being a little bit taller now, which is, I think, the way they'd rather have him.
Well, naturally, every time Chapman comes in, everybody's looking at the radar gun. And now they're looking at it for two reasons. A, is he going to hit 105, 106, 107 miles an hour? And they're looking at it to see, in this case, if he's not up there, well, where is he and what does that mean? 0-1 to Willie Bloomquist. Come right back with a slider there. Strike two.
You know, I'm more tempted to look at the scoreboard than the radar gun. Radar gun's great. It's a fan favorite thing. It's never going to be out of here because the fans love to see it. But the only real reason you have a radar gun, in my estimation, is if you're scouting a high school kid who's playing against bad competition and he's blowing them away and you're not really sure how hard he's throwing, then you quantify it somehow. But big leaguers will tell you whether you're throwing hard enough or not. I don't care whether he's throwing 86 or 96. That is an unhittable slider.
Well, unfortunately, the Diamondbacks get a run. And the Reds will bat in the bottom of the seventh inning as they stand and stretch. A 3-1 game. Fall everywhere. Reds trailing 3-1 as they come to bat here in the bottom half of the seventh inning. Arizona will bring on its third pitcher of the night as Aroldis Chapman comes on to get the final two outs in the top of the seventh inning for Bronson Arroyo. Sam Dimmel, a right-hander on for the Diamondbacks. Hermida, Hannigan, Giannis. Should we get any further, it would be Chris Heisey. So Kennedy, Gutierrez for a couple of outs. And now Dimmel, strike one. Boy, Gutierrez came in, fell behind the very first batter with a tying run at second, Scott Rowland. Got a called strike. Then ran a fastball in on Rowland's hands, and he popped up into left field. And boy, he got down to business on Jay Bruce.
Yeah, he really did. He threw him a fastball to look at, and then he struck him out on back-to-back breaking balls. The last one, a real good one. It seemed like Jay was waiting up there for a fastball that he did not get after that count began to run against him.
Reds down 2 as they were when they came to bat in the 6th inning. Of course, then it was 2-0. They got a run to bring the deficit down in half before the Diamondbacks got a run in the very next half inning. One and 2 on Hermida, who is grounded out and struck out. 2-2.
Where Demmel kind of drops his arm a little bit and really runs that ball from side to side. And that's what they've been trying to do to Jeremy Hermida tonight, and they've been successful. Strike out one time, a ground ball to first, both on a 2-2 count. And here's another 2-2 count for Jeremy Hermida. Demmel's not a big guy. Second-year pitcher. Was with the Arizona Diamondbacks last year for 37 games. But he really uses his legs. Did his college work at TCU.
Two and 2 on Hermida. Struck him out.
That's a nice changeup right there. We saw him grip it. We knew it was going to come. But after giving him nothing but a diet of fastballs, he pulls the string. And I'll tell you, I've got to be very impressed with the Diamondback pitchers, because these guys have change-ups and they throw them with a lot of confidence.
Just makes you wonder who they're pitching to everybody else around the league. They came in here with the worst ERA in the National League.
Yeah. All I can tell you is what I see.
Yep, you're right. And as you like to say, the scoreboard doesn't lie. The Reds got 4 runs in the game last night, but they only had 5 hits. Tonight they have 1 run on 4 hits. Got a big Reds fan here tonight in attendance. Mitch Sayer, a baseball player out at Anderson High School. Him and his family on hand to watch a ball game tonight. We're happy to have him with us. The undefeated Anderson High School baseball team, I might add.
Congratulations.
Ranked number 3 in the city.
Nice.
3-1 on Ryan Hannigan. Head coach Chris Newton out there. He certainly has done an about face in his life. Graduated from Turpin, now coaching at Anderson.
Ooh.
After 16 years as a head baseball coach at Coleraine. 3-1 to Ryan Hannigan. And he draws the walk, so the tying run will come to the plate. Well, this week on Fox Saturday Baseball, the Reds and the Cardinals will lock up at Busch Stadium. Fox Saturday Baseball returns this week at 4 o'clock Eastern Time in high definition. And taking a peek ahead, certainly the Reds don't want to do that. They have more important matters on hand down to that dugout. But Saturday, it's slated to be Travis Wood against Chris Carpenter. And of course, the Sunday game is a night game. It's a foul ball off the leg of Giannis.
You know, if I'm not mistaken, Tom, the Cardinals pushed Chris Carpenter back a day because he and Edinson Volquez both pitched on the same day their last time out. And it could have been the fact that they had a doubleheader coming up or a rain out.
Well, they had an off day and a rain out. They had an off day on Monday, and then they had a rain out yesterday.
So our calculations originally that pitted Volquez and Carpenter against each other on the same day, that won't happen. I think it'll be Volquez and McClellan, right?
Right, first game. Wood and Carpenter game 2, and then LeCure and Westbrook on Sunday night. Giannis is grounded out to short and popped up, or bounced to second and popped up to short. Roberts will play to first, and he'll get the out there. 2 away in the inning, and here comes Heisey.
Ball hit very slowly. High hopper right there. Roberts can't get it on the big hop, so he takes it on the short hop, staying back. And no way you're going to make sure you get the lead runner. He knows with a 2-run lead, you're looking for getting some outs. Roberts, as you mentioned, Tom, plays all around the infield. He can play any of those infield positions.
And the outfield.
And as long as he continues to swing the bat like he does, he will get some playing time somewhere.
All right, here's Heisey. We know he's capable of tying this thing up with big swing in the bat. And a first pitch breaking ball. Boy, that's a good one, isn't it?
Yeah, you know what? And that's a good scouting report that the Diamondbacks have. Of course, they played the Reds enough to know. And they played them recently, so things really haven't changed. But Heisey can really turn on a fastball. They're not about to pump one in there just to get ahead.
Back-to-back breaking balls on Heisey. We're in the bottom of the 7th inning. 1 on, 2 men out. Reds trailing Arizona 3-1. Bronson Arroyo goes 6 1/3, allows 5 hits and 3 runs. Ian Kennedy 5 1/3 innings, allowed 4 hits and 1 run. Well, you can't drop it in the mid better than that.
Well, you're not kidding, with some downward action.
To the count on Heisey. Chased a breaking ball away, and that's that in the Cincinnati 7th inning. 4 hits in the game for the Reds against the Diamondbacks. 3-1 our score. We were reminded by none other than your good friend and my dad, Marty Brenneman, over the weekend, over the commercial break.
Okay.
That over this weekend, because the Cardinals were rained out yesterday and they're playing a day-night doubleheader today, that Jake Westbrook started the first game of that doubleheader. Cardinals lost that game to the Nationals. So there's no way he's going to pitch on Sunday night.
No.
So the Cardinals are going to have to do a little juggling in their rotation.
Well, they've already had to do some juggling coming out of spring training. Putting Kyle McClellan in the rotation, taking him out of the bullpen. Kyle Loesch is the other starter that we were talking about. He's pitching tomorrow against the Nationals, the final game in that series against Tom Corzolani.
Of course, you know, you start thinking about some guys they've got pitching in the bullpen, at least with their major league club, that are capable of giving them a start. And certainly Mitchell Boggs is the first guy that comes to mind, because he has started from time to time during his major league career. Or they go to the minor leagues. They may have to do that. As Jaime Garcia is pitching the nightcap right now, which, by the way, the Nationals and the Cardinals are tied at 3. And St. Louis has just broken that 3-3 tie on an RBI single by Lance Berkman. 2-1 to Kelly Johnson. Arizona bats in the 8th inning with a 2-run lead. Come in town for the Reds and stay for more fun. Make it a weekend and book your discount hotel package at CincinnatiUSA.com. They've got some great deals going on throughout the entire summer. Three and two. Pretty good battle here by the left-handed batting Kelly Johnson. And another foul ball.
Well, Chapman keeps throwing fastballs, and Johnson swings the bat as soon as it comes out of his hand.
Seven pitches thus far in this at bat. Number 8 coming. Number 9 coming, I beg your pardon. And here again, the 3-2 delivery. Soft liner off the glove, it appeared, of Chapman. Giannis finds a handle just in time.
Tell you what, Kelly Johnson runs a lot better than I thought. He got down that line right now. Good matchup right here. Justin Upton, good fastball hitter. It's a great fastball pitcher.
Broken bat. Slow roll to Giannis. Good throw out Upton. And the first 2 gone in the Arizona 8th inning. Reds have a top of the order coming up in the bottom of the 8th. And that trio of Stubbs, Phillips, and Votto helped produce the Reds' only run of the night. That was in the 6th inning. Stubbs has been on base twice. Votto has a couple of hits, but outside of that, it has been mighty quiet. Hannigan has been on twice with a hit and a walk. After getting 5 hits last night, the Reds have been held to 4 hits tonight.
You know, this is the first time this year that Aroldis Chapman has gone more than 1 inning in a ball game. I'm wondering if maybe this is the way that they've decided to maybe build up his arm strength. get this kid in a groove. He's been a starter ever since he began pitching. So you know he can stretch it out a little bit. I don't want to make him my long man by any means, but doesn't mean you got to bring in a different reliever just because you go from the 7th to the 8th inning. Especially in a ball game in which you're losing.
Well, he's wondering from the home plate umpire Gary Cederstrom where that one missed. That looked like a pretty good pitch, and Chapman regrouping a bit. Now he'll settle back in. 2-1 on Russell Branyan. Of course, when we were in Arizona, I think the entire building was stunned that Kirk Gibson allowed Russell Branyan to bat against Aroldis Chapman. And what did he do? He had a check swing base hit into left field. And here he's gone 3-1 on Chapman tonight with 2 down and nobody on. Strike 2.
Strike zone.
It's been a tight one all night. The only liberal portion to this umpire strike zone has been the high strike. Although Fox Track says that one didn't indeed miss in.
That has a margin of error.
Don't we all?
Speak for yourself.
I was.
I've got one too. Quite a large one.
Chris Young digging in. Looks at ball 1. Red's already down a couple of runs, and Chapman trying to keep it right there. Set to throw his 30th pitch since coming on from the bullpen. High pop up. And it is playable for Scott Rowland. Inning over. All right. Top of the order coming up. Reds are down 3-1. Bruce Stubbs last night. Straightaway center. Home run number 4 on the year for Stubbs. He'll lead things off against The new pitcher, we got to look at Mr. Hernandez in a game last night. So Dimmel goes an inning, strikes out a couple of batters, walks one, and now Hernandez becomes their fourth pitcher, following Kennedy, Gutierrez, and Dimmel. We talked about it last time when Hernandez came in. I mean, you're talking about a guy who's had a history of having problems throwing the ball over the plate. And in the game last night, Drew Stubbs led off an inning against Hernandez when he came in and drew a walk. Stole a base, scored a run on a hit. And on the very second pitch that Hernandez comes into the game with tonight, Stubbs swinging away and rolls out to second base, 1 out.
Well, he walked twice last night, Stubbs did. He walked twice tonight. Scored on a walk last night and scored the only run of the game tonight on a leadoff walk that he had in the 6th inning.
Reds batting in the bottom of the 8th inning. Wow. Back-to-back. Real good breaking balls to get ahead 0-2. Nothing but breaking balls from Hernandez out of the bullpen.
Yeah, he has hung the last 2 of them to Brandon Phillips. Brandon had one to hit. He fouled it off, and that one, it looked like he fouled off his foot.
Two still to Phillips. Fastball up. Leonvato in the on-deck circle. And down 2, you're always at Bullpen a blast away from tying things up. But you got to get them on. It's out of play.
Whether it's intentional or not, and it's probably not, it's still a pretty good pitch from a pitcher's standpoint. That really sets the plate up for a nice, nasty hook if you can muster one up right here.
And he does throw the breaking ball, but it's off the outside corner and low.
Pretty good job now by Brandon Phillips, who looked miserable the first 2 pitches in this at bat. He's battled him tough to run that count full. Make it be a strike here.
All right, payoff pitch coming to Phillips. And it's on the way. We'll do it again. Nine pitches thus far in this at-bat, an at-bat in which Brandon Phillips fell behind in rather ugly fashion. No balls and 2 strikes. But he's worked it full, trying to get aboard in front of Joey Votto. And he will not do it. Broken bat, and Johnson out to get it.
I thought for a moment this ball had enough air under it to get over the second baseman's head, but it just died. I think you're right about the broken bat.
And now Votto with the bases empty. And that's exactly what the Diamondbacks were hoping for when this bottom of the 8th inning began. Hernandez retires Stubbs on an easy ground ball. A lengthy battle. Hernandez against Phillips. And now 0-2 on Votto. Votto knocked in the lone Reds run back in the 6th inning. With Stubbs at first and 1 out, he doubled down the right field line to make it a 2-1 game. But Arizona came right back in the following half inning and recaptured that 2-run lead by tacking on a single run and a final run against Bronson Arroyo. Chilly night and well short of the track. The top of the order is set down 1, 2, 3 in the 8th. Get this play. One of the most amazing plays you'll ever see. It's one thing to see it in slow motion. When you see it in regular speed, that ball bounces a wrong way after Ozzie thought it was going to his left. Kicks back the other way, and he still fields it barehanded.
While he's in midair.
Yeah.
The wizard.
It's one of the most unbelievable plays for a guy who made a lot of great plays.
Oh, yeah. Like those unis?
I do.
Yeah.
You wore one.
Yeah. Yellow
Was that
sanitary
you on the
sock.
mound?
No, that was Randy Jones.
Okay.
It looked like, yeah. He threw a lot harder than I did.
He did?
Yeah. He was up around 74, 75.
Here's Francisco Cordero. And not the situation. You don't mind seeing him in the top of the ninth.
We haven't seen him enough.
Yep. There you are. In the old San Diego Padres uni. Those are nice. Wow. The bender.
Poor Vern Rule.
Wait a minute, that was a swing and a miss by a pitcher?
Yeah.
Boy, oh boy.
That was personally selected highlight film I got for you there. I had to go through a lot before I found one. Hey, he was a good hitting pitcher.
He was. He was.
You never know what you're going to see.
That's like a cruel joke, you know, whoever did that to you.
When Brian Hunterman is our producer, you just never know what he's going to pull out of the archives.
Well, Matt Sigafus has all that at his fingertips down there,
Yeah,
right?
I guess
in
he
our
does.
truck. And
it's kind of scary.
you know what, guys? Let's roll that again.
No, let's.
There's a ground ball to second, one out here in the ninth. So this is Vern Rule.
This is painful. It looks like it's Vern. I was shaking it off. That's about. You didn't see the first three shakeoffs.
That's not Vern Rule, is it? No.
You want us to slow it down, slow-mo, or you want the real speed again?
One out for Ryan Roberts. Roberts had a big hit in the seventh inning. Reds had it down to a one-run game, 2-1. And with a runner at first and one out, he doubled to the gap in left center field and scored Stephen Drew. Of course, last night Roberts was the big hero offensively for the Diamondbacks, clubbing a pair of home runs, driving in 3 of their 5 runs. J.J. Putz is getting loose in the Arizona bullpen. He got his 4th save of the year last night. Cordero delivers a strike on a 3-0 pitch. One out walk to Ryan Roberts. Well, don't forget, coming up right after the game and every game here on Fox Sports Ohio, it is Reds Live. Brought to you by Kings Honda and the Kings Auto Mall. Visit KingsHondaUSA.com. Jim Day, Jeff Pecoro standing by. Big group here at the ballpark tonight. Today is Autism Awareness Day. Of course, the month of April is Autism Awareness Month. We understand they were out selling tickets. Jeff Pecoro was the leader of that group. Jeff sold almost 50 tickets, and a lot of the proceeds, thanks to the Reds and the folks with autism that work with those with autism, as that double play will end the inning. They'll raise a lot of money tonight. Bottom of the ninth. Rowland, a pinch hitter. Hermida. Putz comes on from the bullpen. 2 to tie, 3 to win. replay of the game. You just saw it. Nice double play turned here by the Reds.
Even with a little bit of a bobble right there by Joey Votto, couldn't get the feel of the ball. Finally throws a strike to Giannis, who throws a sizzling strike over there to Francisco Cordero. C361, our John Morrell hot dog play of the game.
All right, now taking over for Arizona, trying to get saves in each of the first 2 games of this series and looking for 3 saves in the 5 games played between these 2 teams. His right-hander, J.J. Putz.
Well, he is the 5th pitcher of the night. And Kirk Gibson has run out there. Ian Kennedy, the first 5 1/3 innings. Juan Gutierrez came in. Sam Demmel for an inning. David Hernandez, both very nice innings by those guys. And now their closer.
Scott Rowland to lead it off. He looks at a fastball strike. A year ago, Arizona went 2-5 against the Reds. They are 3 outs away from going 4-1 against them here in 2011. Fly ball for the first out here in the 9th. Certainly the 2 distressing signs. I mean, despite the fact that Arroyo pitched a very nice game here tonight, as Johnny Gomes is going to come up and pinch hit. They go hand in hand with one another. Generally when you're falling behind early in every game, and tonight was a 4 straight game the Reds allowed a run in the first inning. And they've given up the most first inning runs among all teams in the league. And when all of a sudden, day after day after day, and let's face it, a lot of games this year, that has been the case already, where the Reds are forced to come from behind right from the very get-go. It puts that much more pressure on your offense, and at least for the first time in this very young year, this homestand, Chris, they have had a terrible time generating much offense.
Yeah, you're right. And it looks, you know what? It just looks like things aren't going their way, that their bats are slow. There's a lot of lazy fly balls, which, indicates to me that there's not a lot of snap in their swing. And the only thing you can do is to grind it out. Come back and play hard every day, play good fundamental baseball. They're only down by a couple of runs. It's not like they're getting blown out, but they just don't seem like they can get anything going offensively. And every team goes through a funk like this, but what is especially frustrating is the fact that you look at the schedule and you think on paper, these are the games at home that the Reds looked at and said, hey, we're going to be able to make up some ground right here. You got the Pirates in for 4 games. You got the Diamondbacks. Most professional baseball prognosticators pick those 2 teams among the bottom in each of their divisions. And here they are, whipping you like a stepchild.
Oh, and 2 to count. And here's strike 3, and the Reds are down to their final out of the 9th.
I'll tell you one thing for these Diamondback pitchers, they have been all over the corners all night.
Well, now Hermida, who in his first Red start is 0 for 3. Rounded to first, struck out looking, struck out swinging. And this ought to wrap it up tonight. Reds are 1-5 on the homestand. 1-5. And their record is .500. They began the year 5-0. Since then, they are 4-9. That's the bad news. The good news is, Chris, despite the fact that they're playing as poorly as they have been for 2 weeks, when you look up on the board, they're still going to be in first place when you open the paper tomorrow morning. So, I mean, it's not like you're the Boston Red Sox right now.
Right. Well, you're still playing .500 baseball. You're an even 9-9. You're still in first place. even though you've lost 3 in a row, so it can't get a whole lot worse. All you need is a little bit of a spark to get them going, and you hope that tomorrow is the one they find it, because they've got a tough series coming up in St. Louis, and maybe even a tougher one when they go to Milwaukee next week.
Alrighty, time now to kick off Reds Live, and let's begin by checking in downstairs with Jeff Piccoro. And Jeff,